Hi YouTube, AC Dodd here again, and this time we're going to talk about remote tuning. Most of you have seen my on the road tuning series when I'm driving about the UK and merrily tuning up people's cars. There's been a number of people from other countries, particularly asking about whether we could help tune their cars. But unfortunately, a lot of the time it's just too expensive to have me fly over there, etc, etc. So what I've done is I've come up with a process which we can do a remote tuning via video link. So we set up a video call, and I sit with you on the video call, and you tune your own car. So yes, this is completely possible. Yes, you can get good results, and you also learn something while you're doing it. So to this end, I've managed to get some video of one such chap. His name is Troy, and he's from the USA. So we'll see a little bit of video from him later about his experiences of doing the remote tuning. One of the things that I wanted to let people know is it's not quite straightforward. You need to have a few things at your disposal to be able to do this. Now, what I mean by that is you need a wideband gauge installed in your car so that the car can be driven and the gauge can be read, so that I'm able to monitor the fueling, and then we can make adjustments. And also you need to be a fairly competent home mechanic, so you know how to use a strobe light, you know how to do plug gaps, you know how to take the SU carb apart, etc, etc, and you've got your own tools. There's some special tools that you do need to buy for modifying needlers, but I'll talk to individuals about that if you're interested. So the way to contact me is via Facebook Messenger. Just send me a message if you're interested in inquiring about the tuning. Basically, there is a charge which I charge, which is an hourly charge. So I just run a stopwatch while we're on air, so to speak. That might sound worrying, but actually in reality, a lot of the time we're not on the call because I've got the individual going away doing certain work to their car. The other thing is typically a tune-up can't be done all in one day because we get into the tune-up and then we find we need to stop and buy parts. Now, if you're in a different country, that can take a number of weeks, for example, to get spare parts through. So just because just because we're tuning, we will find issues. We won't necessarily tune exactly what's there. So one of the benefits of doing the video tuning is we can come back to it. So it's not an issue. So we can do a bit, wait, come back to it, etc. I've also got a little bit of footage so you can see the typical measurements that we find on a car, and then you can see after adjustments as to how things have improved. So this particular car that Troy had, when he first contacted me and I did some preliminary investigations, he had a lambda reading of about 0.7 to 0.75 from about 2,000 revs all the way up to 4,000 revs. And then as you open the throttle, got to full power, it was 1.2, so it was far too lean. So I'm led to believe that in this particular case, there's one or two individuals in America who purport to sell needles to suit the car, and this Troy had purchased one and fitted it, and it proved to be an absolute joke, to be honest with you. So all I would suggest is if someone says that you can get a needle over the counter, you need to be ready to check and measure that with your own wideband gauge, because as Troy was finding, it was actually ball washing his engine. So people can say these things, but in reality I could never do that, because I know that you can't do that by mail. So you need to be able to measure what each engine's doing to be able to actually modify and make a needle to suit it. Further on with Troy's car, we had to modify a number of parts on that to make that work right. So we took that modified needle out, we changed it for a standard BDL needle. I also changed the carburetor dashpot spring from a red to a yellow. We ended up with a modified damper piston damper and we tried different oils to get it optimized. And we obviously ended up with an extensively modified BDL needle to make it fuel properly. So without further ado, let's look at some videos, and I can explain what's going on. Full power run in third gear.
3,000.
Okay, so what you saw there was Troy taking his car out after we'd fitted a BDL needle and a yellow spring, and he just took it out for a power run just to see what it is, but it was so lean at full power that he had to cut the run short, so to avoid damaging the engine. So we did some further modifications, and the end result is as follows.
3,000, 4,000. 45, 5.
So as well as doing the full power run, we also optimised the part throttle so that the engine would run cleanly and be efficient.
Fourth gear, what are we doing? 60 at about 3,500 RPMs. More gas.
So as you can see there, that engine's running quite well. We got it dialed in at the end. The readings were nice and lean all the way across at part throttle. Obviously I only just showed the clip there to keep it short, but that was at cruising speed 65 at sort of 3,500 RPM. No flat spots, so Troy was very happy. Anyway, speaking of Troy, I'll let you listen to what he's got to say about the experience of doing an AC Dodd remote tune.
This is my 93 Mini Cooper. It was an SPI. It was converted to carburetor before I bought it. It ran okay, but it never ran right. I had problems with the transmission, pulled the motor. While it was out, I decided to rebuild the transmission, rebuild the motor. Bored at 30 over, went with Evolution 2 cam, has a Pertronics, igniter to electronic distributor, coil, new plugs, Fletcher radiator, and the European sound horn, which is much louder than the original. Put the motor all back together, was bored 30 over, I didn't remember if I mentioned that. But anyway, it didn't seem to have the power, so I went ahead and fiddled around with it, figured out what I was getting for fuel mileage. Was only getting about 13 miles per gallon out of this motor. I couldn't believe it. Had a company profile a needle for me. It made it worse, burned either way too rich, depending on where I was in the rev range, or way too lean, which was not good. Watched a bunch of videos of AC Dodd, followed some of his advice, finally decided to get a hold of him and find out if he could help me through video call and get this done and get the carburetor set up the way it should be. Let me also state that I'm in the US, so I wasn't able to just say, hey, I want to have you come down for a tune day. We got together, talked a little bit, basically through phone calls, set up some time, and he showed me how to profile a needle for my car. So I got to learn a lot. We went through, we had to adjust the needle valve, which he calls the flow jet, or that's what they call it in England, I'm not sure. Here in the States, you know how we call things different. Had to change the spring, went with a BDL needle and started modifying that, and we had to do some extensive modifying but it was easier to go with a fat needle and work from there than trying a bunch of different needles. And I'll tell you what, with his experience, we got this thing dialed in. It runs great. It's right where it's supposed to be. I put an AFR gauge to read lambda, so we were able to basically road tune it by reading off of the lambda gauge, which made a huge difference than just trying to tune it sitting static and running the engine. Trying to think of anything else. All I know is anybody in the U.S. who's having issues with trying to tune their car, there's nobody around there, or you're not sure if so-called experts will do it, or somebody that knows how to work on British cars. Not a lot of people know how to profile a needle just right, like AC Dodd. I tell you, give them a call, get a hold of them, set something up, and you guys can work through it and get your car running top notch. I couldn't be happier. It wasn't super expensive. Way different than trying to fly them over here and getting a group of people together and do it all together. All I can say, it's definitely worth it. If you have any issues, give them a call. And it's not just on the carburetor, it's just how to set up one of these A-series motors.
Well, hopefully you can see that Troy indeed found that very useful. I think he was quite surprised at the effect of having a properly set up engine. Just one thing to note there, obviously part of the tune also includes going through the ignition system and looking at the advance curve and all the rest of it. We didn't show that because there's no need to, but that is included in going through a remote tune to get the engine to run properly. I can see that certainly from my experience of looking at some of the cars, certainly in the rest of the world, they are usually in need of quite serious attention when it comes to setting up the carburetor and setting up the ignition timing and getting the best out of the engine. So now there is a solution for you. Please get in contact and we can discuss requirements. And anyway, hopefully you like this video. And as ever, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.